Hi, baseball fans. I'm Brandon Hall with the Prep Baseball Report here in North Carolina. Going to open this podcast with a little different sentiment, a little different tone as we're going to mourn the passing of Greg Simmons, the head baseball coach at Charlotte Christian. I've known Greg for close to 20 years. And you talk about obviously a great coach. I think I saw a stat where he won 16 state titles. But I think his legacy is much more than that. The legacy as a man, as a husband, as a father, as a grandfather, as a mentor to the players that came through his program. I had the privilege to coach numerous players that played for him at Charlotte Christian, and I've had a chance to speak to a couple of them since Greg's passing. And it's been a very tough week for those that knew him and knew him very well. And we at Parrot Baseball Report want to pass along our condolences, our thoughts and prayers to everybody that Greg has touched. Rest in peace, Greg.
One, two, three, four.
Welcome back to another PBR podcast here in North Carolina. I'm Brandon Hall. He's Matt Payne. We're going to walk you through some of the high school baseball in our area. Matt, how you doing, my man?
Doing good.
Good weekend. Good weekend this past weekend. I know you spent a lot of time out at A-Lab and saw a lot of good players. But we're going to start just talking about coaching in general. Obviously with Greg Simmons passing away, got me thinking a little bit about the not just what coaches do for players in terms of development, running faster, throwing harder, game management, things of that sort. But the process of that coach and player mentorship and friendship and relationship, which I think Greg fostered at Charlotte Christian, and a lot of our high school coaches and a lot of our college coaches in the state do a really good job of. When I talk to you a little bit about coaches that had an impact on your life, is there anybody that kind of comes to mind right out of the chute?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Greg there. First of all, thoughts and prayers to the people down there, and he was well respected across the state. And when you would go to a game down there, you could see the love and appreciation that people had for him. And talking about coaches, for me, I think it starts with my dad growing up. Him teaching me the game and building that love for the game and giving me the foundation to go forward. And you get to high school and other people coach you and had great high school coaches, and get to college and Coach Avent and Coach Hart obviously meant a lot to me in my career. And then you get into pro ball, and Tom Prince comes to mind, and played and coached in the big leagues, and you realize there's a lot of people that have forgot more baseball than I'll ever know.
I think the big thing is it's that growth of the game. It's that ability to develop people within the concepts of what baseball is, and then developing that passion. And I think as a society we have a lot more options than maybe the generations before us. There's more football options on a daily basis. There's more. There's just a lot more to do, a lot more things people can do. But the game of baseball tends to bring people together. It's a long form. It's not a quick hit. You get a chance to sit, you get a chance to digest, you get a chance to talk about and strategize, and hang out and be a part of something. It's funny you mentioned your dad, and my dad was a coached us, me and my brother, both through travel ball in high school and fall ball and all that stuff. And then we both went to college and we both got into coaching. And as we were doing that, he got out of business and kind of got into high school coaching. He was at Enloe in Raleigh. He was at Wake Forest, what was Wake Forest Rollsville. And then settled at Wakefield. It was at Wakefield for 12 to 15 years or so. And it was funny. I have a 6-year-old who started t-ball, and I got him out of retirement to coach that, and to see the passion again of him being on the field and teaching to a different generation. Again, what you teach at t-ball is different than what you teach in high school. Just trying to understand the basis sometimes, but that joy of the game with people that really understand coaching and really enjoy that aspect of it, that joy of the game, very quickly comes back and very quickly spreads to the people they're around. And that's the first thing that kind of comes to mind when I'm looking at that impact coaches are making is are they creating that joy, and are they spreading that joy of the game to the players? Not necessarily are they not hard on players, but do their players enjoy that passion for the game that you and I have?
For sure. And I think that's um, one part we enjoy with what we do is interacting with the kids that come and getting to know them. And um, I think they see our love for it, and we enjoy seeing their love for the game and their desire to improve and show the work that they've put into it.
Yeah, we get to see guys from different age groups, sixth, seventh, eighth graders, and into high school, and we're not there every day for the development part. Our jobs are different nowadays, but we still get to watch that development and to enjoy that process. And there's kids that that we latch onto even as scouts, just because we see that they've kind of overcome, or that we see the distance they've come with their development, and then they're having a chance to turn that dream into reality. They didn't necessarily see that they had the dream, but didn't necessarily see how the reality was going to come true. And then they commit, and instantly that joy comes through. And we're extremely happy for those guys. And, we got a chance to see a couple of those guys this past weekend. We'll have a couple more that we'll see this upcoming weekend. And so that aspect of it and following the game from afar still eats us up as we're going through and watching high school games, going through our showcase stuff, going through scout days, getting a chance to be around travel teams and things of that sort.
Yeah, it's we see those guys early on a lot of times, and they come in and it's a new environment for them, and they may be a little timid and don't say a whole lot, and then 3 years later they come back and it's what's up, Matt? How you doing? Did you watch the football game? And you kind of build somewhat of a relationship with them.
Yeah, it's and it's something that we lost a little bit getting out of coaching, and then to be able to replenish that, even if it's in a small way, and the joy we get out of being excuse me, back on the field with like future games, and really getting and seeing and getting to spend time with guys in the dugout for 2 to 3 to 4 days, watching how they perceive the game, watching how they interact with each other, watching how they interact with coaches, picking our brain about what we see and us picking their brain about what they see, and continue to teach the game, continue to evolve the game, because there's things that we do from a developmental standpoint. There's things that we do from a game management standpoint that I don't think players, and I know I didn't, but players probably don't even, think of those concepts. But as coaches, we're sitting on the side and it's all we have time to think about. And so that interaction of the doers versus the concept people, and developing those that the interpersonal skills, developing that relationship and relating that stuff back and forth, it's something that I miss. I miss, I tell people all the time when they ask me, "You're going to get back into coaching?" I say, I don't miss coaching, so to speak. I miss practices, and I miss the locker room. Game days were, they were basically scripted out. If you did a pretty good job at practices, how most of the game is going to run. But I miss that interaction with players on a daily basis. It brings me as we start to kind of continue the conversation. Matt, as you look back, high school, your time at Caldwell, your time at App State, even your playing time. Is there an interaction that you remember with a coach, whether it was on the field, practice, and locker room, and is that interaction that you kind of flash back to more often than not? Is it really game related and situational related, or is it more life, getting to know somebody interpersonal?
It's I don't know if you can go back to one or two things, but when I look back on coaching, the games will always be fun. I mean, I think that's in your blood. But what I remember most and miss the most is being around the kids, and whether it's in practice or down in the cages when guys are working on their own, or when they would pop in the office and just kind of sit down and talk, or talk other things, talk other sports, or being on the road, the hotel when you go down for breakfast and a couple guys will come and sit with you, and you talk about life and things that's going on, and being able to have conversations other than baseball, and you have that friendship with them. You're still their coach and maybe mentor, but you know them on a more friendly level, personal level, and that's what you remember and miss from the coaching side of things.
And I think that's part of the growth of what the player has a chance to become. Because freshman in high school, freshman in college, you probably don't have that. You're not just going to go breakfast, first breakfast on a road trip and sit right down next to Coach Avent. You
No.
probably get your stuff, you get your stuff, but by the time you're a junior, if there's something on your mind, and shoot, he's there, might as well get it off my mind. It's something we can talk about, and it's that ability for the players to grow. And our high school guys that we track and follow, the guys that may be listening to this right now, they're getting ready for their spring. I think that's part of that dynamic on teams that have a chance to be really good. How much ownership does the junior and senior class take with what's going on with that club? Do they have that ability to talk to their head coach? Do they have that ability to say, hey, we're tired. We've been working our tail off. We're beat down a little bit. We may need a day. Hey, it's okay to press us today. It's okay. I know it's been a tough 2 weeks, but we got some guys that we need to push through this. Is it okay to run a players only meeting? Is it okay to run a players only practice? And having the concepts and the ideas of what the coach is wanting to do, but also that willingness that the coach knows, hey, we're on the same page and we're all pushing towards the same goal. And so I can give some freedom to some of the older guys so that they can take it and run with it and take ownership of that club, because every club is a little bit different.
Yeah, every good team I've been on or coached, the players had such a big say in it. They took ownership of it, and they would kind of let you know, like, hey, coach, we're going to do this today, or we need this, and the players take it over. And I can go back to being in college. We had a pretty good club my last year, and it was the last weekend of the season, and some guys went out after the last game of a road trip, and got called, and coach wasn't very happy, and we get over to the ACC tournament, and he calls some of us over, and he's like, how do you think we should handle this and all that, and we basically said, hey, coach, we don't play for 3 days. We're good. We want to win. And he was like, all right, I like it. And him coming to the players for that, and having the pulse of the team, and players respect that, and I think coaches respect that too.
And one thing players need to understand that are listening to this, that has to be earned. It's not that you just show up in a meeting and go, hey, we want to be a part of it too, and we're going to make some decisions with you, coach. That's not what we're saying. The aspect of players and the coach feeling like he can come to a player or a player group like that group of players has worked their tails off. They've earned that respect. They've earned that ability where the coach is still going to have the final say, but he feels like he needs to be inclusive because those players have earned that right. And it's not necessarily how good the player is, or how much talent that player has. It's the buy-in, it's the dedication, it's the understanding of what the coaching staff is trying to push for, and being supportive of that through your career, to the point where the coach now says, okay, we know we're on the same team. We know you're pushing towards what I'm pushing to. How can we do this better? And I think, again, the best coaches really understand that and do a great job with that communication with their players.
You said it best. So that's earned, and that's a lot of days of paying the price and working hard and grinding it out and being a team first guy and taking care of your business before you ever have enough respect or enough clout to go in and have a coach's ear.
And it doesn't always make sense to the younger guys. Well, why does that guy? Because they haven't seen it. I can remember being a freshman at Wilmington, and we had a junior who was dealing with some mental health stuff, and at that time that was a faux pas. You didn't admit to having those types of issues, but he was an All American, a Team USA guy, had led the country in strikeouts per nine the year before, and he was just having some issues, and we gave him the fall off. And I think there were 13 or 14 of us that were freshmen. And our freshman class that year dominated the roster in terms of numbers. And we didn't get it. For us, it was a new team. For us, it was a new thing. We hadn't seen all the work that guy had put in for the two previous years. We knew he was really good, but we didn't know if it was the hard work or if it was just talent or whatever. And, he had tremendous work ethic. And so the coaches had given him that leisure and given him that leash of, hey, let's get your mind right. Let's get your body right. We're going to give you a semester to make things right. Just be to these things, X, Y, and Z, but you don't have to come to everything. And then when we hit December, where it's go time, we're gonna see if we can't get back on track. Like, younger players, we didn't understand it, but we also weren't going to question it because we hadn't earned that right to question anything yet. But as I got later into my career, I actually got hurt and then started coaching with Coach Scaff, who was making those decisions at Wilmington. So as somebody had gotten hurt, and then got into coaching, I was able to actually have some of those conversations and see behind the curtain a little bit, whereas maybe a lot of people don't get to see that. So a lot of great coaches in North Carolina. We get to see them. We get to interact with them. The coaches, we sent out our preseason questionnaire. They were flooding us back in. A lot of guys really working for players out there. Even when players don't see it, there's a ton of coaches that really are working for their players, their best well-being, putting them in the right positions as they move forward, trying to get them opportunities as they move forward as well. You and I both see that on a daily basis, Matt.
Yeah, and coaches working for their kids, it doesn't have to be a Twitter post or something like that. We get all kinds of emails or texts or run into them places, and they're constantly praising the kid for his work ethic, or if you can help this kid out in any way, he's worked for it, he's earned it, and we expect him to have a good year.
Well, let's move forward and jump into this past weekend. You actually had a home game. You were at the Athletes Lab in Maiden, North Carolina, fairly close to your house, and for Saturday's Scout Day with A Lab, and then Sunday Preseason All-State West. Talk to me a little bit about your impressions, and obviously it's a facility you know fairly well. You know the owners fairly well, but give me some of the feedback on the facility of Athletes Lab.
Yeah, it's a great place to train, and the Rembert brothers have done a great job there, opening up a place and providing athletes in this area with a place to train and get better at not only baseball but other sports. And they have the indoor and ton of cages, ton of mounds, and it's spacious. And recently they've added a 100-yard turf field outside that we were able to use, and they use it for soccer and flag football and other things. And I enjoy being there. It's easy for us to do things in there, and it's also an easy place for kids to get work done in there. And had a great day with those guys on Saturday with their org for their scout day, and got to see a lot of players that we haven't seen.
It really is the first thing you walk in. I mean, it's an older building, but when you walk in, they've done such a good job with where the turf's laid down, the way the space is laid out. There's plenty of space to get your swings in. There's plenty of space to get your throwing in, get your bullpens in. You don't feel like you're right up on top of anybody. It was clean, immaculate, and so we're bringing showcases there. That's one of the things that we look for. We want that experience for the player to be good. And the first thing you see when you walk in a facility is it kept up? Is it clean? Is it presentable? And then those guys do a tremendous job. But the indoor, multiple short cages for guys to get their work in, 5 indoor mounds right there, bang, bang, bang. Behind it, a weight room. Obviously, we didn't use that for our showcases, but some of their coaches were in there lifting. And then they've got a building next door that's connected. They've taken down part of the wall as a door, and that's probably it's at least a 40-yard, probably 20 by 40.
Yeah,
piece of
it's
turf and it's just wide open, and they've got it sectioned up, but we could use that one to let the ball fly during BP. And then, like you said, when we went outside, that was amazing. And obviously the weather cooperated, but outfielders were able to get full length throws. We got our running in without any issues, and we were able to do a full infield to give the shortstops a chance and third baseman a chance to feel like they were in their normal positions, making normal plays on a routine field. So, really appreciative that they let us in there. And Matt, what did you see on Saturday, the Athletes Lab Scout Day? It looked like there was some talent on hand, ranging from the 2027 class all the way up to some seniors.
yeah, a lot of good young players there and some older guys. A couple guys that stood out: Adam Rogers, 2026 from Lincoln Charter, switch
Rogers,
hitter.
Adam Rogers.
He barreled balls from both sides of the plate. There's quickness in the swing. Um, really good actions defensively. I think he's going to be a fun guy for us to follow. And Evan Mateel from East Lincoln, we saw him last year in high school action, and
One of our
he just
favorites.
continued. He just continues to hit. He played for their football team this year that won the 3A state championship, and the body has a football player build to it. And like the left-handed swing, it's simple, and he's got a good idea where the barrel's at, and enjoy watching him take BP. And they had a couple arms as well. Carson Dolly, another East Lincoln kid, just fills up the strike zone. His velocity's made a jump, and I think it'll only jump more heading into the spring summer circuit. And then they trot out a 2027 Alex Wall, who's 6'2" and lanky, and it's clean and easy. And that kid's got a chance to throw really hard one day.
JFG, North Carolina, possibly. His numbers looked
Yes.
really good. When I haven't had a chance to see the video just yet, but I will be seeing it shortly after we get off this podcast. So I was intrigued by that one. As soon as you told me the name, I saw the size, and I looked at the numbers. Like, woo, that's a pretty freaking good eighth grader. So it's fairly well advanced right there.
They had
Obviously.
another
Go ahead.
They had another kid, we saw early, Sean Jenkins, young
Yep.
kid. He goes with us to JFG, and now he's committed to East Carolina. So they keep running them out there for us.
Well, they've really done a good job. And the brothers that run it, help me with the last name. I can see the spelling. Rimberts.
Rimbert
Yeah,
brothers.
Rimbert. My mouth gets tongue tied sometimes. Rimberts. But both of them have a background in coaching. I can remember being with Grant on the road, and we ran into him a bunch. I think especially when he was at Upstate, maybe leaving a little bit of time at Elon. But when they got out, they got into this, and chance to be at home, chance to raise their families, but also a chance to make an impact on the community. And what's happened is they've had their younger teams are starting to age up now, and so now you're starting to see they've had some good high school players, they've had some good high school age teams, but you're going to start seeing A-Lab being a little bit more of a factor even on some national levels here coming up, because they've done a great job of developing the players in their area and getting those guys to stay at home and train with them.
Yeah, they've done a great job, and their youth teams continue to grow, and uh, I've seen it. Players get better in their program each year.
Let's transition to Sunday. Sunday was our big preseason All-State West. It was our second preseason All-State, and had approximately about 30 high school players on hand and 2 committed that we have a good track record with. We've seen them a bunch. And we'll start with Hunter Honeycutt, committed to App State, kind of a super utility guy, catcher, infielder, outfielder, but he just keeps getting better every time we see him.
Yeah, he's added some size, and the quickness has always been there, but his preparation and hard work, each off season, shows up when we see him for the first time each year. And switch hitter, he's got an idea from both sides, and I think he's going to benefit App State with his versatility in the years to come.
Yeah, he's a guy that always had some quickness, and there was always a motor to what he was doing, but the body's become a much more physical frame. Exit velocity has jumped. He's a guy that when he gets on campus, shows he can handle upper level velocity. I think he's got a chance to wiggle his way into the lineup somehow, some way. And it's an interesting case because he doesn't have to do it as a middle infielder. He doesn't have to do it as a third baseman. He doesn't have to do it as a corner infielder or outfielder or even a center fielder or a catcher. Wherever the deficiency is defensively, if he's one of the best 9 hitters, he's going to be in the lineup because he has a chance to play multiple positions. And Kermit and those guys at App State obviously do a pretty good job, really good job of developing younger talent. And I think, that from watching them a little bit last year, that especially on the defensive side, they got some guys that had some deficiencies in years past and cleaned some of those things up and got him ready to go very quickly up on the mountain. And I think, they make a decision, hey, Hunter's got a chance. Boom, here's where he's going to play this year, and he'll be clean enough to allow that guy to be in the lineup.
Yeah, his athleticism will allow him to do a lot.
I know another hitter we were excited about seeing, and we talked about East Lincoln earlier. Trace Spees, third baseman, 2024, left-handed hitter. Tell me what you saw in Trey this weekend.
Love the bat. Enjoyed watching him last year in high school ball, and it's a pretty left-handed swing. He barrels the ball. He's gotten stronger. I think exit velos were around 95, and he was a key piece in the East Lincoln lineup last year. And he had a good guy to learn from in Garrett Michelle, and I think Michelle definitely seeing Michelle go about his business. I think it definitely helped Trey with approach and going at bat to at bat, and just love to watch the kid hit.
He's got special rhythm, and he's got good ball to barrel ability. He's one of those. I don't know that he's going to be a flashy commit. He's not going to be a guy that is going to jump up in our top 300 nationally or anything like that. But he's not quite this guy. But he reminds me a little bit of Dustin Ackley, just kind of a little bit under the radar, left-handed hitter. But every time you watch him, you go, I like that swing. Boy, I like that swing. And then he continues to grow. And Dustin's hand strength came a long way in his senior year. He gets to college, and Dustin led the country in hits, and I think doubles his freshman year. I don't know that Trey's going to produce at the level Dustin Ackley did, and eventually be a first rounder. But the swing comparison's there for me because the rhythm's so good and the barrel ability is so good. I'm kind of interested to see. And similar with Dustin, there wasn't really a position even out of high school. Where is he going to play? Can Trey play second? Can he play third? Is he going to be athletic enough to play first? Is he going to have to stick or short? Is he going to have to stick at first? Does he run well enough to play in the outfield? All things people will figure out because they know the bat's got a chance to be in the lineup from day one.
Yeah, we love the guys that keep the barrel in the zone a long time.
Another hitter, a couple other hitters that kind of stood out just, based on exit velocity and kind of what I saw. 2024 Cade Gardner, who we've seen a bunch. 2025 Ellis Chappell. 2024 Hayden Ashby. It's a little unorthodox, but there's some bat speed and hand strength. All in all, this was a top to bottom, very, very solid event in terms of the BP that we saw.
Yeah,
how
for
did
sure.
you evaluate it?
Yeah, Cade Gardner, bat speed's got better since our last look
Cade
at
Gardner,
him. He had a
60.
good day, and another guy I know you'll talk about in a minute is Drake Tucker from Vandy's, 2025, I believe he was the first guy to hit on the day, and he made sure our BP thrower was awake.
It was loud.
Hit some balls really hard.
It was very
He's
loud.
a physical kid with hand strength and arm strength.
Well, we're appreciative of being able to, obviously in the winter, you don't always know what you're going to get defensively. And we've been in two places now. We've had enough space to get a feel for some guys and watch rhythm in their feet, rhythm in their hands, the exchange, the ease of the process of getting the ball out of their glove and across the diamond. Absolutely at Athletes Lab that being able to build an infield on that spacious turf allowed us to do that. What did you think defensively? Anybody stand out for you?
Kason McGinnis, 2026 from North Lincoln, and another high school that continues to have good baseball players. And
Blue 41.
defense
McGinnis.
looked easy for him. He had good rhythm, good actions, and he definitely had a comfort level going through his defensive workout.
We started the day with the pitchers, and I thought that group that threw, and I'm back there trying to evaluate as best I can and watching everything. But I thought it was an advanced group. Especially for a January 29th date or whatever that date exactly was on Sunday. The first name that pops up for me was Travis Rhodes. Travis is a guy that we saw at our border battle this past summer.
Travis Rhodes.
Jumps, commanded taking a hit as he had done, significant velocity jump and kind of tracking to see where he was going to be. And he was around the zone. It was good enough. And honestly, as we got into it and started actually making a couple of adjustments with him, not necessarily mechanical, but just said, hey, I'd like to see elevate fastball. Now I'd like to see elevate slider. and that maybe not pitches that he's constantly working on. He had to kind of just look and throw and trust, and he dotted those things up, which was impressive to me. Shows me he has some feel, and I think the adjustments are going to come pretty quickly. And Matt, he plays on a Ledford team that we probably need to watch out for this spring.
Yeah, that's got a chance to be a fun club to watch. They got the 2 Miami commits and Paulino and Pichardo, and another young infielder, Wilmer Martinez, that we've seen a few times, and that'll definitely be a club to watch heading into March and April.
No doubt, no doubt. Some young guys, I think Travis has a chance to add some stability just as a senior that's been there, done that with some of their clubs from the recent past that have made some runs in the playoffs. You mentioned Drake Tucker, the big physical 2025, 6'2", 225 pounds. Bandy's high school, plays with the Dirtbags, lists himself as a third baseman pitcher.
Drake
I
Tucker.
think I would switch that. I'm interested to hear how would you list him right now?
He's probably going to have to go to first base.
But you think hitter first?
I like to give guys a chance to hit and prove they can't do it.
Yep.
With how he threw off the mound, though, it's hard not to say he's maybe pitcher first right now.
So, and I always want to give guys a chance to hit, but I always lean pitcher first because I see guys and I go, I know I can do this with it. If I had him, we would do this, and that's just the pitching background and development background of pitchers. I had you that way too, and then you went on to pretty prolific career as a hitter. So we would have given you a chance if you'd said yes. Drake was big body, strong arm, down zone, ball rode through the zone, 85, 89 with some carry through the zone. It was an impressive pin, especially for a younger guy. Looking up breaking ball, spun, average, but he's throwing his slider, 74, 77. So, he's got the right idea of what he's trying to do with that. And he's a guy that I think has a chance to give Bandy's a chance to win games right out of the chute.
Yeah, and Bandy's has a couple other young guys that we'll have to follow, and he'll definitely help lead that club this year.
Another name I was excited to see, and I got a little bit of a personal history with his family, Davis Cabbage. I've known Davis's dad since I was working at Charlotte, where his dad works right now, and we had his older brother with us, went to Southeast unsigned senior games before he committed to Walters State. But Davis is at Hickory Grove Christian, right-handed pitcher, 2025. And the thing that was noticeable very quickly with Davis from the last time we've seen him is he's probably put on, 10 to 15 pounds of muscle in his lower half. It looked like he's 5'10". He lists himself at 160, maybe a little bit heavier than that. But it was a strong,
Davis
athletic
Cabbage,
lower
Davis
half.
Cabbage.
The hips had some activity and motion in them. His ability to spin the baseball in the past has allowed the ball to play out of the hand. And some of the numbers that were intriguing on him, it was 84, 87, but his average induced vertical break was 19 inches with a max of 21. So the ball's really riding through the zone. It's not actually climbing, but it's playing that trick on the hitters. As the velocity climbs, if he can kind of maintain that 19 to 20, he's going to have a chance to get a lot of swing and miss in the zone. The other thing that Davis did really well, especially again, January 29th, second and third pitch in the zone, curveball spun up to 2100, had some depth, 11 or 1-7 type tilt on it. And then the changeup was thrown with aggression, good arm side fade to it. And again, had a really good feel for it. And Matt, I know you were a really good hitter, but guys that can throw three in the zone, I don't care if they're throwing, as long as the velocity is at least average, they got a chance to make a lot of good hitters look foolish.
Yeah, going back to coaching, it seems like a lot of teams we always played would have a right-hander that was under 6 foot, but had good ride to the fastball and just hard to hit. Those guys would eat you alive, and your head coach would come in and say, "Hey, I want one of those guys." They'd come in out of the pen and just, those guys can definitely have success.
When we first started getting things rolling at Wilmington, we made a career on 5'10" and 5'11" guys that had good arms. We didn't know at the time how to express it. We didn't know that they had ride and carry in the zone. We just knew the ball we called it jump or hop. The ball was just hopping on hitters. 88 played like 92 for whatever reason, but we had a stable of those dudes at Wilmington, and it pitched at a really high level. Don't want to date myself too much, but late 90s, early 2000s. And tried to replicate that a little bit when we were at Charlotte. We got a little bit more physical, ability to pitch down and pitch through zones with those bigger guys. But it actually transitions us to a right-hander that I know you know well. Caleb Williams, Alexander Central High School, 6'2", 190 pounds from the senior class, committed to Rice. What'd you think of Caleb as you were watching him the other day?
I thought he had a really good day. He's always had arm strength and arm quickness. I think he's been in between slots at times and in between which breaking ball works best for him. I know he's messed with the 12-6. He's tried the slider, but he shows up Sunday and it's definitely more slider now, and it had more bite to it in times past. And he's also got a really good changeup that I think he probably doesn't get to use in high school, but it's
Right.
got late sinking action, and he's definitely got bigger and stronger. I mean, that was a physical kid we saw on Sunday, and he continues to get better.
It's always interesting when programs that are heavily into the analytics go outside their area. And now Caleb, the pitching coach at Rice, was at Davidson, and they had recruited Caleb. He knew Caleb really well, and then he goes to Rice. Well, Rice was in our conference, Charlotte. They don't leave Houston. They don't have to. They very rarely leave Texas. But for them to come to North Carolina and get a player tells me that there's something analytically that they looked at and went, this guy's different, and there aren't many. He's a little bit like an alien, and we need to go get him because we're not going to find that guy in Houston. And so when we're watching him, there were times where he's cutting the ball at 88, 89 miles an hour, and it's up in the zone, and it was 7 to 10 inches of cut. Well, if we can take that and we can lengthen a little bit and maintain the velocity, which he's probably done at some point, would be my guess. 90, 91 with 13 inches. Now you're talking about a guy that's completely different from a lot of pitchers in the world, and that's the guy that gets the swing and miss in the zone. You're trying to figure out how or why. It's because it's got velocity and it's going in the wrong direction and it can be elevated. And then you pair that with you got the side to side elevated, and then you got the slider. It starts in the same spot and has a little tilt to it. Now it's a very dangerous combination. So I'm really intrigued by not just Caleb's this year, but what does he do moving forward? Because I think it's a really unique situation. Leaving this state and going to Rice, and then kind of seeing how they develop whatever it was that they saw that they really liked, because it is unusual. Knowing how Rice has recruited in the past. Obviously, they got a new staff in last year, but still, they don't have to leave Houston to compete for a national title typically. And so it's interesting when they do get outside that framework, how that works out for them.
Yeah, he's a smart kid too. I think he has the ability to take some more advanced information and understand how to use it or how it can help his game.
Several other names, and we don't have time to go through all these guys, Matt. But Peter Boatwright, Tate Jensen, C.J. Wallace, Caden Nolan, Jimmy Newman was an intriguing arm. So again, these preseason All-States have really attracted some high-end talent, and not necessarily guys that are polished, but guys that we're going to be tracking here for 1 to 2 to 3 years, where you believe, hey, there's some serious upside as we're watching these guys.
Yeah, it's one thing about these events is it's a lot of times it's our first look at a lot of freshmen, and it helps us build the foundation for that freshman class and gives us an idea of who we need to go see during the high school season.
Right. Well, let's move forward. Let's talk about this weekend. We're going to be split up this weekend because I'm actually flying out to Chicago. I've got our national event, which is the Super 60, held in our home base, which is just a tremendous facility and gives those guys a chance to really show out in front of scouting directors, general managers, assistant general managers, some of the top scouts in the country. There'll be, 100 to 200, evaluators there watching the best talent in the country. We got a couple from North Carolina going there that we'll talk about. But let's start with where you're going to be at, Matt. We're heading back to Next Level in Greenville, North Carolina. Again, another fantastic facility, a wide open facility, allows us to do a lot of things. have you had a chance to look at the roster a little bit and see what you're going to get into this weekend?
Yeah, I think Saturday is going to be a fun day. We got Holden Cooper coming, East Carolina commit. Um, just a baseball player, great kid, fun to watch. Ethan Britt and Duke commit. Get to see him again. Cooper Allen from Wake Forest High School.
Ready
He's
to see
going
what
to
that fastball is, especially with it being early. It doesn't have to be peaked, but I'm excited to see how good that arm is going to be.
Yeah, and he swings the bat well too. We talked about it earlier. He'll definitely get a chance to do both at Wilmington, I think. And
I think one of the players maybe I've seen more of than you have is Davis Albert from Wayne Country Day. William and Mary committed in the 2024 class. He's scheduled to be there. I'm intrigued on what your eval is on Davis, because I thought he was a guy that was a potential future games guy for us last year. I think he was on our final list when we were trying to make decisions and just we went a different direction. But again, a guy that has a chance to be really good. And we talk about future games. Cole Lanford wasn't with Team Carolina, but was with Team Select at the future games, and got a chance to learn a lot about Cole at the future games. I'm excited to kind of see the progression of the big lefty and where he's at too.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see Luke Hemrick, left-hander, plays with TPA. We've seen him a few times,
Yeah,
and I think at some point that stuff's going to jump. And curious to see where he's at this weekend.
like I'm partial to a Millbrook, my Millbrook alumni status. I'm partial to Jack Strom, who we saw at the East Coast Dodgers. We saw at the DPC workout in the fall, I think. 2025
Hmm.
outfielder from Millbrook, left-handed hitter. For me, he's a future games mark. We'll kind of check in. We'll watch him here at this event, and we probably need to check in on him in a live game situation. But the body screams prospect. So give me one or two more if you see him.
Ethan Bunce, catcher. I know last time we saw him, he took an impressive round of BP. Excited to see him.
I got one more for you. Colin Woolard, right-handed pitcher in the 25 class that's committed to Virginia Tech. We have not seen a lot of him, and he was kind of a guy that made a jump this summer, is my understanding. And his coach Adam Pate at Wayne Country Day has raved about the development of that prospect. So I'm excited to see the report on him as well.
Luca Pasquarella is another guy, left-handed hitting catcher. We've seen a few times, and interested to see where he's at.
Cape Fear High School 2024 graduate.
Yep.
For me, I'm getting cream of the crop. We typically, what do we turn in this year? About six to eight players from North Carolina.
Yep.
We had one turn it down, decided not to go, and he honestly, he doesn't need to be there. People are going to go in and see him.
Yeah.
But we do have a 23 catcher from Wake Forest High School, Luke Stevenson, committed to North Carolina. Give me a little report on what I'm going to see from Luke.
He can really hit. He has a comfort level in the box. He's handled quality arms, and he also can receive and throws well. And he's been one of my favorite guys the last couple of years. And I think he's going to open some eyes up in Chicago.
I had a chance to get on the phone with him last night just to make sure he knew kind of what we were getting into and give him lay of the land and things of that sort. And he was relaxed and confident. And I was extremely excited after getting off the phone with him, just because the guys that have had that relaxation about them before they show up, it's really worked out. And I'm scrolling right now. I know we got one other one, the pitcher from Combine Academy, Chase Meyer, 2023 right-handed pitcher committed to West Virginia. And Chase is a little bit of a nomad. I think he's from West Virginia. He plays in the Canes organization in the summer, 6'3", 185. And, he may be the darling of the Super 60 when it's done. That's how good the stuff has a chance to be. As an organization, we've seen him up to 92 with it spinning at 2,600. We've seen a two-plane hammer type slider. We've seen a changeup that has a chance to get a ton of swing and miss. And I'm hearing 92 is going to be very light. If he's there, he may be a little disappointed. So, we may see a 5, we may see a 6, we may see better. But I'm extremely excited to see where he's at as he's getting ready for the high school season and, giving himself a chance to connect with some scouts that are there as well. Have you seen Meyer at all? I know he's not a guy that was in our territory long, but I know you know the name.
Yeah, I saw him in the fall at High Point, and it's loose and athletic, and it will be better than 92. And he may leave there with the best numbers of the whole thing. Uh,
Well, that would be 2 years in
it's
a row for
athletic.
North Carolina. We had Jackson Humphreys last year that probably turned in the he was the event stopper if they gave that award out, and he turned himself into he had missed some time in the spring, which probably hurt his draft status a little bit, but he ended up being I think a eighth round pick somewhere in there, and then also Brooks Brannon went with us last year, catcher from Randleman, and then he had maybe the greatest North Carolina high school season of all time last year, en route to leading Randleman to a state championship. But Brooks turned himself into a top 10 round pick as well with the Red Sox. So this is an event where a high end prospect can get lost just because there's so much. But for those that follow along, I'll be tweeting from the Super 60 out of my own account, bhall_29, I think, and then Matt's going to be tweeting on Saturday, and then also an event on Sunday from our PBR North Carolina, PBR in Prep Baseball NC at Prep Baseball NC account. So, Matt, anything we missed today?
I hope not.
I know
I think we covered.
we had two shots at it.
We did.
For those of you listening, we got a good 20 minutes into this sucker before I realized I hadn't started recording the first time. So
Players need practice. We need practice too.
Yeah, that's no doubt. There is absolutely no doubt. We can talk it. It's the other stuff, the actual hitting the record button and then the post-production stuff that bogs us down. But it's always good getting on here and chatting and chopping it up with you. So I appreciate the time on both sides, the one that's going to make it to air and the one that wasn't recorded. And then we'll hook up later this week and kind of chop it up again and see what we saw over the weekend.
Yep. Enjoy Chicago.
Absolutely. You enjoy yourself out there in Greenville and Wilmington. I'm Brandon Hall. He's Matt Payne. We'll see you next week here on the Prep Baseball Report of North Carolina podcast.